Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Sorry to interrupt your chatter, but it's time to kick things off this morning. My name is Bingley, and for those of you who don't know, I'm the editor of Property Week. That's a job I started in June this year, and about 3 months into the job, I still consider myself a bit of a newbie and getting to know the property industry, but I suppose when one thinks about cabinet ministers, perhaps Nadine Zahawi's stint as Chancellor, I suppose I should consider myself a veteran, really. And so it's my job to say a few things about the conference so far, and I thought I would start with some observations about yesterday evening's dinner in the British Museum. It was a fantastic occasion, and I hope many of the people in the audience today were at the event last night. Otherwise, some of what I'm going to say might fall a bit flat, I suppose. But we started last night with drinks around the Rosetta Stone, which is famously an iconic symbol of shared understanding. And I think that's obviously a relevant metaphor for what we're here to do today. This is a conference. We're here to understand each other's point of view. And of course, before the Rosetta Stone was discovered, there was a great debate and confusion about what Egyptian hieroglyphics might be. Not everybody was convinced that it was a form of written language, but the Rosetta Stone cleared up that misunderstanding. Scholars beforehand thought perhaps it might be decoration or just meaningless mumbo-jumbo. And again, that's another metaphor there for anybody who was here yesterday and listened to the notions that were explained of property in the metaverse. That certainly seemed a bit like gobbledygook to me when the concepts were explained. And for one, I'm desperately in search of a Rosetta Stone that might help me understand what was meant by some of those concepts that came across yesterday. We were surrounded by Egyptian exhibits while we were drinking, and that reminds us of the enduring nature of the things that we build. The Egyptian civilization was founded in 3000 BC, somewhere around there. So some of those objects that we were surrounded by last night were 5,000 years old. And obviously we all think of the crowning achievement of the Egyptian civilization being the Great Pyramids at Giza, and fantastic monuments to the leaders of ancient Egypt. I suppose we should be grateful that they weren't based in the home counties, because if they had planned these monumental edifices here in the UK, they would still be waiting for planning permission. We also dined under the Great Court roof. It's a fantastic example of what can be achieved with retrofit if you have the creative... I'm glad you like that one. If you have the creativity and the vision, you can transform a building into something completely new. Obviously, it helps to have the creativity and vision outsourced to Foster & Partners, and it obviously helps if you've got £100 million to spend on your retrofit project, which the British Museum did. And remember, these were £100 million in 1994 when the project began, which is, cast your mind back, that's when the pound was actually worth something. But it's an example of sustainability and what can be done to retrofit a building. And of course, today, sustainability is on the agenda, and I'm sure we will all learn interesting things from that today. And finally, we were all entertained last night by two singers, Bella Voce, who sang beautifully, two talented ladies. They were both enchanting and entertaining, and they had beautiful voices, which kind of brings into sharp contrast. I don't have a beautiful voice, I'm neither enchanting nor entertaining, so I should probably make my exit at this point and hand over to Mark. So thank you very much for coming along today. I hope you find today's conference useful and enlightening. So thank you very much.
Well, what an inspiring way to start the day. Thank you very much indeed, Lem. Yeah, good morning. Great to see you back after our night at the museum. as Len was suggesting, it's not often you discover that your dinner companion is some girl called Rosetta Stone. I mean, she seemed nice enough, but didn't understand a word she said, to be honest. For those who were not there, there was none of the disruption of the movie. The Egyptian statues stayed in their place, rather disappointingly. All the other exhibits behaved themselves too. But as Len was saying, the setting, the meal and the singing was just wonderful. Disruption, though, is what we're going to seek in our first session this morning. See what I did there? True disruption, the cutting edge of community creation. We know how unaffordable housing is right now. In fact, as unaffordable as it's ever been. There is an acute shortage of social and genuinely affordable homes. 30 years ago, I can tell you, 57,000 council houses were built in England. Last year, it was 6,000, with 29,000 demolished or sold off. And that is despite a million people on the waiting list for a social home. Actually, the number who would like to live in a social home is many times that. The challenge is huge. But how do we make the numbers add up? The answer is to think differently, to be a disruptor. That at least is what our first speaker this morning will argue. Homes England recently said the Goscombe model has the potential to radically change the way affordable housing is delivered and sustainable communities are created. We'll forgive them the split infinitive. The man behind the Goscombe model is here to explain what that means. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the founder and director of Goscombe Group Limited, Alistair Wickens.